You're listening to E-Commerce Fastlane, Episode 6.
Welcome to E-Commerce Fastlane, the podcast show to help you build, launch, grow, and scale a wildly successful e-commerce company. Listen to real conversations with proven practical strategies and success stories. Learn how to generate more traffic, more sales, more profit, and customer lifetime value for your Shopify store. And now, your host and e-commerce entrepreneur, Steve Hutt.
Hey there, it's Steve again, and welcome back to the E-Commerce Fastlane podcast. And if this is your first time listening, this is an e-commerce show where we have honest and transparent conversations about building and thriving online with your Shopify store. New episodes are available each week in iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spotify, or available online at ecommercefastlane.com. On today's episode, have you ever wondered who your customers really are, or how you can find the most influential and valuable customers from Shopify? Well, that's exactly what we're going to discuss today. Today, I'm chatting with Blaine Farr, and he's the Chief Operating Officer of a platform called Woolly. And what they do is they kind of match customers in Shopify to the complete social profile to help store owners build lasting relationships, and then run influencer marketing campaigns through their most kind of valuable customers. And, he's going to talk today about, how to get started with influencer marketing, really using your existing customers. So Blaine, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here, Steve.
Great. So tell me a little bit about Woolly and kind of like how this platform was born, the executive team, or kind of any past experiences. It always intrigues me how people develop a platform to help others in marketing.
Yeah, certainly. So Woolly was started by my partner, Scott Paul. He was one of the pioneers in influencer marketing, and he started one of the first influencer marketing platforms called Instafluence, which he sold to Disney in 2015. He knows the space better than anyone I know. And at Disney, brands were coming to him all the time saying, hey, we want to find these influencers with huge followings, high engagements. And he says, yes, I can do that. Yes, I can do that. And then they'd say, okay, they also need to wear our clothes, drive our cars, love our brand, eat our food, whatever that may be. And he'd pause for a moment there and think, okay, how can I get that information? They are your customers. Shouldn't you know who your most valuable customers are? And this kind of kept coming up over and over again with some of the biggest brands in the world. And what Scott would do is they'd go out and they'd buy a phone for an influencer, or buy a car, or buy some food so that they could eat it and claim to be a client. But he saw firsthand how sometimes ingenuine some of those campaigns would be, and kept wondering, how can we help brands find those customers who really, really love their product and happen to have huge social influence? Because when they found that sweet spot, those influencers tended to drive the highest results and were great to work with for the company.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's an awesome story. And it does make sense because, you always wonder when you see some of these, I don't even call them celebrity endorsers. And, and I think the FTC is now getting involved with the Federal Trade Commission. Like it's such a wild west out there right now. And I can see, and I'll see the benefits now of Woolly. And that's the reason why I have you on the show today is it's amazing the benefits that can happen when you are learning about your existing customers and kind of what their social profile is. It really is a phenomenal a concept. So, it reminds me of one thing about influencers in general. Like you definitely read a lot online about kind of, I guess, the power of those influencers and kind of like how they're helping brands promote products. But can you kind of explain, there's a lot of different kind of language being used out there about difference between these micro influencers and macro influencers and celebrity endorsers, and there's lots of paid endorsements. So can you kind of give us kind of, I guess, the Coles Notes or the Cliff Notes, kind of what really is the difference between an influencer and a micro influencer?
Yeah, certainly. At the surface, it's pretty simple. A micro influencer tends to be someone with less than 100,000 followers. And traditional influencers, or those celebrity endorsers, or macro influencers, are those with more than 100,000. But it actually goes a lot deeper than this. As you mentioned, it's kind of been the Wild West. And initially, brands were very attracted to just working with the biggest, person who has the biggest following. And we've seen in the news lately, sometimes those followings are bought. Sometimes, that just because they have a lot of followers doesn't mean it's right for your brand or your audience. Mm-hmm. And that's where this rise with micro-influencers has come up. So first, micro-influencers tend to be much more connected with their followers. You'll see that they're in posts, they're responding to people, they're striking up conversations. And this leads to a higher engagement rate. They also tend to have a more niche and targetable audience. If you think of working with let's say LeBron James, and he has so many followers that span a wide range of demographics and psychographics. Whereas if you work with the local blogger who's talking about food in your city, or about mattresses, or talking about running shoes, that tends to be a very niche audience that you can target much more closely than you would be able to do with a larger influencer. Mm-hmm. And then finally, because these influencers are smaller, they tend to be much easier to connect with. Mm-hmm. You don't have to go through an agency, and they are more affordable and often open to trade and other types of collaboration that can help them connect with their followers and add value so that people continue to want to follow them and engage with them. I often think of this concept of effective reach. And I think of this as, okay, you may have a huge influencer, 10 million followers, but if they have a very low engagement rate and their audience is not very relevant to your brand, you're actually reaching a smaller number, very small subset with a message that hits home. Whereas when you're working with a micro influencer, they may be able to have a huge engagement rate and an audience that is very, very tailored to your brand or your product. So those actually even out. And then when you think about the cost benefit or the cost of working with each of those groups, there's, you just see so much more power going through the micro influencers right now.
Yeah, definitely. Well, let's dig into that a little bit then. So how does the Woolly platform help Shopify store owners, being able to find these kind of influential customers or these super fans, so to speak, to help drive more revenue?
Yeah, certainly. So this all goes back to that idea of your most influential fans or followers are going to be your customers. They're people who bought your product, they've spoken with their wallets, and they care about what you're doing. So what Woolly does is we take that basic customer information from Shopify and match it to that customer's social and psychographic profile. So we can understand, hey, this is Steve Hutt at Shopify.com, and we can match that up to your Instagram, your YouTube, your Twitter, your LinkedIn. Of course, we're not able to match every customer to every social profile, but we really are quite accurate in doing so. Right. Brands can then use this information to identify and engage those influencers, VIPs, and execs who may have already bought their product. And when they do this, they've actually found often these customers are interested in collaborating for free instead of spending thousands of dollars to get them to post. I was talking with a client yesterday who said that they saw a big influencer or Instagram influencer, I think it was about 150,000 followers, who bought their product. They reached out that day and said, hey, I saw that you just bought this product. I've seen your Instagram feed. How are you liking the product so far? And she responded, absolutely love it. You guys are doing an awesome job. And he said, hey, would you mind posting about this? And within 5 minutes, she had posted an Instagram story featuring the product. And that's the type of experience that you can't get cold reaching out to an influencer.
Yeah, and that's the challenge is, for me being in marketing and kind of helping a lot of Shopify store owners, that's one of the things that we talk about. It's a really hot topic right now about, how can I drive more kind of net new visitors to the website? How can I get more brand awareness? And, that's one of the big topics comes up about influencer marketing. And there's lots of platforms out there and kind of a crowdsourced kind of way of showing what they have for reach apparently, or what their engagement is. But at the end of the day, it really is, they're not necessarily the customer of that particular brand, as you said. And now here we are, trying to engage this influencer and buying their services, getting to enjoy the product somehow, or just paying for an endorsement. So it's kind of disingenuous to a certain degree. And I think that's the difference. I think that Wooly offers, just to add more clarity, is that I feel that if someone buys from a Shopify store and we have and let's say they have 1,000 orders a month. Let's just say they're a basic store and they're kind of doing that many. That's a lot of email addresses and a lot of social profiles that are available that you could then, and I think we'll dig into it a little later, but you can dig into that and then choose who you want to reach out to, or maybe even include something extra special in the box. So it's pretty interesting. So that lets me, I guess, let me get into the next question that I jotted down here. I think it's important. It's that, like, are there any specific features that maybe Shopify store owners like absolutely love Wooly? Like, there's got to be a couple key things that maybe you can share with the audience.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest thing is it is very eye-opening to see who your customers are.
Yeah.
Just looking through, like, oh, I had no idea he bought from us. There was a fun story with one of our clients the day after we installed Wooly with them. A very famous CEO. I won't mention any names here. We're very, we protect that information very, very tightly for both customers and who their end customers are. But a very, very famous CEO had bought from them the next day, and that's then, that's just incredible to see. Oh, wow, he bought our product. And that is just really eye-opening to brands. So those real-time alerts to help you identify those people when they purchase. Kind of related to you made a comment earlier about delighting your customers. And there's a story, and this was not done with Wooly. Hopefully we can work with Emirates someday in the future. But there's an airline called Emirates. And my understanding is one of the agents recognized Casey Neistat, a huge YouTuber, tens of millions of subscribers, and upgraded him for free to their best suite on an international flight. And he posted that to Instagram, not sponsored. And last time I checked, between a handful of posts and Instagram and Twitter, that generated well over 100 million views. Think of how valuable that was on knowing who the customer was and creating a tailored experience that they could then share, and the value that drove to Emirates and their audience of knowing, hey, this is what a first-class suite looks like on Emirates. Everybody wants that now.
Yeah.
And that is just a phenomenal opportunity for brands to be able to do things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So are there any challenges then? So based on that, are there any challenges that a store owner might experience when trying to implement like an influencer campaign?
Yeah. So I think of an influencer campaign in three categories. You can work with your customers. You can work with your fans and followers, people who you may be engaging with on social media. And then you can work with outsiders who may not previously be aware of your brand.
Right.
Most companies start with that outside circle of starting with outsiders. Mm-hmm. And it's very challenging to know how much to pay. It's very much an art, not a science. You can look at the number of followers, and some of those could be bought. You can try to understand the audience. But it's really difficult knowing how much to pay, and a lot of work to cold outreach to people who don't know your brand. Seth Godin, who I think very highly of, he said, you shouldn't pay to reach people who don't know who you are. And I think that advice could not ring more true in influencer marketing.
Definitely.
Where, the people you're engaging with should know who you are. And if not, there should be some sort of campaign to help them know who you are before you start paying them money, if you pay them at all. Many of our brands have actually made the decision of we will not pay anyone ever. And we will compensate them with product. Sometimes they set up affiliate programs, so it's a pay for performance. But that's a very big challenge, and understanding the ROI on a campaign.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the thing. I have a lot of, once again, clients, merchants and stuff that come to me, and, they don't know how to measure the ROI of an influencer campaign. Do you have any insights at all on that?
Well, again, this would be the Wild West in influencer marketing right now.
Yeah.
I see huge numbers sometimes floating around the internet on, 11 times higher ROI through influencer marketing. And these numbers, I think, can sometimes lead to inflated expectations And the reality is that it's actually much harder to calculate it than it is on a traditional digital marketing platform where you've got great link attribution and all of that. Mm-hmm. So first off, you need to think through, what is the objective of your campaign? Are you trying to drive sales or a number of followers? Are you trying to reach a really big audience so that they now know of your product and you can retarget them? Are you trying to educate an audience? And try to align the strategy of the campaign to what you're trying to accomplish. And along with that is choosing what channel, because each channel will have different metrics that you would evaluate. For instance, Instagram is phenomenal for reach and engagement. But when you think about it, a link in a story only lasts 24 hours. If an influencer posts a link in their bio, they'll usually leave it there 24, maybe 48 hours. So you don't have a long-lasting link to drive great sales attribution through there. So oftentimes with Instagram, you may look at an earned media value on what is the equivalent of the reach that we spent if we were to have bought that through display ads or through other forms of traditional marketing. Say you reach 1 million people through this campaign. What is the earned value of those impressions? Mm-hmm. With other platforms like YouTube can be great for sales attribution. You can put a link in a video. That video lasts forever. Anytime somebody Googles how to braid my hair and it features your brush, that's going to be there forever, and you can continue driving sales through that. So I think it's really important to align your objectives with the metrics that you're trying to measure, and then the platform that will allow you to reach that. And then finally, I think you need to think holistically about the value of collaborating with an influencer. Many of them create phenomenal content, and you should think through, what would be the cost for me to hire a photographer, hire models or whatever's required, a videographer, to create equivalent content. That certainly has some value, and there's some ROI in that on being able to reuse that content in other campaigns. As well as what is the value from the reach, the impressions, and the engagement. And then, how much value to put on getting a new follower, and and the attribution on links and actual sales. So really, when you run a campaign, you need to think through, what is the whole spectrum of value that is being created for the brand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's, it's just, that's what comes back to Wooly again. Is this that I find so phenomenal is that, when it is the Wild West right now, and it is difficult, from an ROI perspective, but now you're flipping it around on the other way and going, okay, wait a second, we're only going to potentially engage with people that are already our customers. And I think that's a phenomenal way of looking at it. I think it's going to open up a lot of doors to a lot of people. That's why I was so excited that I found out that you guys are going to come on the show today and just kind of share this opportunity with people, because it's very disruptive of kind of what you're doing. And I'm excited to kind of see where things are headed. So what is the future of Wooly? Can we get a sneak peek of kind of what's happening in 2018, like any roadmap or features, functionality?
Yeah, well, first off, thank you. Flattered by your kind words, and we are very excited about what we're doing and the value that we can deliver to brands. I'd say our roadmap is constantly evolving. There's so much opportunity with what we're doing, and we're listening to customers and really using that as the main driver in the roadmap. I will say that our big focus, especially over the next quarter or two, is focused on engagement. Okay, now that you know who these customers are, we want to provide you the tools to engage them and all of your customers at scale in a very personal and human way. And we released the first version of that on Monday that we provided some tools to help automate some of these campaigns and first outreach, and are really excited about the direction that is going.
Wow, it's phenomenal. So I guess to summarize that then, so the tool allows us to look at these Shopify customers and then sort them in a certain kind of order, and then potentially have filters and maybe potential some kind of an email outreach campaigns that can happen based on a criteria that you set.
Exactly.
Wow, that's phenomenal. So any closing comments that you'd like to leave with our visitors today?
Yeah. I've spent quite a bit of time now in influencer marketing and thinking through customers. And I truly believe that for most brands, customers are their most valuable asset. It's not your logo. It's not your website. it may not even be your product. It's your customers and how they feel about your brand. And taking that to the next level, I also think it's one of your most undervalued assets. Think of how often you drop your customers into a mass marketing campaign. There's nothing personal about it. It shoots off an email every 2 weeks or once a month or every week based off some set flow. And there's very little that you're actually doing with those customers besides asking them to buy more product. And how valuable that relationship is to drive new sales and build your brand. At the end of the day, whether you're thinking about doing influencer marketing or not, you should be talking to your customers. You should be understanding what they love and encouraging them to share that with others. I heard someone a couple weeks ago say, your brand is not what your marketing team thinks it is. Your brand is what resides in the minds and hearts of your customers. And I really love that. And at the end of the day, influencer marketing can be an incredible tool. It's all comes back to this. How do you drive word of mouth and referral marketing at scale? That's what builds brand. Mm-hmm. That's what drives low customer acquisition cost. And that's what I think all of these stores need to be thinking about is how do you work with your customers, engage your customers, and help them have such a phenomenal experience that they want to talk about it, you and your brand, whether they're really influential or not. We've, as a final side note, one company we're talking with, they regularly work with huge influencers, hundreds of thousands, millions of followers. One of the influencers who drove the most sales was actually somebody with 2,000 followers.
Wow.
And they drove multiples of some of these larger influencers. So it's really about finding those fans, finding those people who love you. And whether you are using Wooly or not, and we'd love to have you check it out, but you should be doing this and truly engaging and delighting your customers.
Wow. This has been a phenomenal interview, learning for me. And I hope the listeners take a lot of this to heart that, influencer marketing is not the future, it's now. And this is a really fantastic way, to find your influencers based on your existing customers. So how can we, myself, the listeners, how can we take advantage of the Wooly platform?
Yeah, it's pretty easy to get started. Just go to wooly.com. That's WOOLY.com. And we're offering a free trial. I just mentioned Fastlane when you reach out to us, and we'll help you set up your account. It only takes a couple minutes to sync it up to Shopify and begin matching that information. And we'll sync a subset and then have a conversation about what your purposes are and how we can help out.
Beautiful. Very kind. Thank you so much for taking time today to be on the show. I'm a raving fan of your platform, and as you know, I have quite a few merchants that are using the platform and are overjoyed with it. And you've really shared some kind of actionable insights for our listeners, and I really do appreciate that.
Great. Well, I'm really happy to hear that.
All right. Well, have yourself a great day, and thanks for coming on the show.
Yep. Thank you very much, Steve.
All right. Take care. Well, thanks for listening in today and learning all about Wooly. It really is an amazing platform that kind of converts emails into full searchable social media profiles, to help you identify influencers and kind of VIPs that are using your product. If you think about it, like here's the use case, someone buys from your store and, you appreciate the order and typically would just ship out the product. But Shopify stores that are attached to Wooly can now be notified when an order comes in from somebody with more influence than maybe the average customer, like a certain amount of fans or followers. And then through automation or directly from the platform, you're now able to reach out and build a relationship with that person. And, they're already your customer. So you could grant access to an affiliate program so they can then share it with their followers, and they kind of earn a commission, kind of for recommending the product, that they're already a customer for, or a loyalty and rewards program, to help kind of word of mouth. The ideas of engaging with your customers who have followers who would also like your products really truly is unlimited if you think about it. So it's now your turn to experiment with this tool, I think. And I think adding it to your store is a no-brainer. Like literally just go to woolly.com, WOOLY.com, create a free account, and then live chat with one of their customer service reps, and you will be granted kind of social matching for up to 1,000 customers. So if you don't have 1,000 customers yet, that's okay. This platform will, it quickly will start working in the background for sure, and it will share each of the social footprints for each of these new customers that you do get. And then you can kind of make some decisions on, how you would best like to work together. So I'm now 4 weeks into this new show, and I'm massively grateful. The downloads and reviews have begun to come in, and thank you so much for being a listener of the show. I truly appreciate you. If you haven't done so yet, if you could take a few minutes to subscribe on iTunes. It only takes a moment on your phone to subscribe, and I'd be so grateful if you could kind of give it a rating and a quick review for the show. A rating and review together really helps a new show like this kind of gain some visibility and some traction on iTunes. So if you could take a few minutes to do that, I'd be very much appreciated. And coming up next week, I do have a great chat with the folks from Klaviyo. We confuse it sometimes with Klaviyo or Klaviyo, and I've now learned it's actually Klaviyo. And it's an extremely popular email marketing platform with a very tight integration with Shopify. And they're going to talk more about kind of email automation and its capabilities kind of to increase sales and retention and, most importantly, kind of building brand loyalty. So it's a great episode you'll definitely want to listen to with an awesome offer too. Thanks again for taking time out of your busy day or your commute and listening to the show. I truly appreciate you and your desire to level up your skills and your knowledge with e-commerce and with Shopify. Until then, enjoy the rest of your week and take care.